Welcome to DW's Environment Podcast with me, Neil King, and I'm very happy to see my colleague Gabriel Borut here in the studio with me today.
Hey Neil, how's it going, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, thanks, because for a long time it wasn't clear whether we'd be able to meet up in the studio and actually produce this second season of On the Green Fence, which we're bringing to you because of Corona.
Yeah, we had everything set up. We were going to go at stories, reporting all over the country.
Yeah.
And that is in the garbage can now, pretty much.
It went out the window with the lockdown, and everything is now very strange, very different. There's been a lot of change in a very short period of time, right? I mean, the fact that I'm sitting here with a face mask, holding it up here right now, with a DW logo on it, which is amazing, by the way.
It's only the two of us in this room right now, so we don't have to have our face masks on. That's the rule.
Yeah.
We are not breaking any rules. But seriously now, Neil, how are you doing?
I haven't had any major flu, cough, bug or anything that would resemble Corona so far. The kids are healthy, my wife's okay, but I mean, we're going...
So no COVID-19, but how's the lockdown been? Okay.
Well, it's been kind of crazy, but nice at the same time. Because, I mean, you've got 3 kids as well, right? I mean, they drive you up the wall after a while, and doing home office and all that.
Yeah.
It's just juggling too many things.
No, we've got a 1-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old. School's out, the kindergarten's out.
Yeah.
It's been tough.
It's not easy.
I'm sure everyone on Earth has a story to tell right now. And if you want to tell us those, get in touch on thegreenfence@dw.com. Please tell us how the lockdown's been, what you have made of the changes that you have seen around you, because there have been many. And on a planetary scale, a big change right now is the 5.5% number. Mm-hmm. There will be a 5.5% reduction in CO2 emissions this year, based on what has happened these last 6-8 weeks alone. That is the biggest ever. That has never happened. Simon Evans at the Carbon Brief, a website in London that looks at climate issues, did the number crunching. And listen to this.
This is definitely unprecedented. What we're estimating might happen this year, 1,600 million ton reduction in emissions. That's never happened before. The largest previous reduction in any year in history was towards the end of the Second World War. There was a reduction of, I think it's something like 800 million tons.
Okay, but just a reminder, and also not to sound callous here, this is an environment podcast, but there are a lot of other factors at stake with this pandemic that is raging across the world. People are dying, and they're also losing their jobs, their livelihoods. I mean, you just look at the economic data that's out there. The IMF's predicting that the global economy will shrink by 3% this year. The Eurozone and Germany could even plummet by almost 8%. Now, that doesn't sound a lot, but that is going to cost millions of jobs, and unemployment is set to double in Europe over this pandemic. And Gabe, you as an American in America, I mean,
millions and millions.
It's in the space of 6 weeks.
The unemployment in that, it's unthinkable.
6 weeks, over 30 million filed for unemployment benefits in the US. I mean, that's unprecedented.
It's way more than unprecedented. It's so unprecedented, it boggles the mind.
It's going to cost the world economy trillions. Depending on how long the lockdown lasts, even if restrictions are lifted now, they could be reinstated again. Everything's up in the air. It's definitely the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression of 1929. And it's also hard to specify just, all the collateral damage that comes with an economic crisis like this. Economic ruin, unemployment, it can send people, over the edge. I think we have to bear that in mind when we're talking about this window of opportunity for the environment.
And even if you think of, imagine this, even this cut in emissions is nothing compared to what would have to happen if the world wants to meet its goals. Even if a lockdown like this went on for 8 years, we would not meet those goals. That's according to Simon Evans from the Carbon Brief.
What we really need is structural shift away from the historical link between fossil fuel use and economic activity towards low carbon economies of the future.
What we really need is a structural shift, structural change. That is what the second season of On the Green Fence is about.
Yeah. How can we make our world more sustainable and avoid a huge climate catastrophe?
But not just from the climate angle, though. I mean, it's way bigger than that. We're going to be talking to a philosopher, a social psychologist, an eco-radical who is being followed by the FBI, and a host of economists with differing ideas of how our world should work if we want to survive on this planet.
Right. There's just one thing I'd just like to add there, Gabe. Just for the listeners out there, we deliberately chose a Eurocentric approach because we are in Europe, and also because the West is responsible for the industrialization, the main perpetrator when it comes to exploiting this planet for the past century. So we are going to have to take the lead if we want to elicit structural change, right? We're going to have to lead the way.
Let's get this thing going, Neil. The first person that we are going to be talking to is known in Germany. She's a big name here in Germany.
Oh, yeah.
Her name is Maja Göpel. She's the co-founder of Scientists for Future. She advises the German government on sustainability, and she is one of the world's leading minds on how to transform human societies. She is known as a transformation researcher or political economist, or...
Let's bring her in.
I am a scientivist to a certain degree because I've always had one leg in academia and one leg in political practice, so trying to understand how the ideas that I learned about are informing change strategies. But what I actually feel like I am is exactly this, a transformation research scholar from a political economy point of view that's always been keen on getting sustainable economies running.
Maja, transformation, that's the buzzword for us here. In your ideal world, what would have to change?
Well, in an ideal world, I think it would be really good if we went back to understanding what's our concept of value and align what we intrinsically all sense. And I think this is where Corona really helped us. What are the things that are really important to us? So it is good relationships, it's our health, and it is reliable access to food and accommodation where we can rest our heads and be safe.
The question, though, that we've been asking ourselves here is we've seen so many reports about how people are saying, you know, nothing's going to ever be the same again after this crisis. And then you see other reports that say, or that sort of questioning whether all is just going to go back to normal. What's your take? Do you think we're going to be going back to underpaying nurses, doing everything just in time, having unstable supply chains? Because, I mean, we are creatures of habit, aren't we?
Yes, but we're also very good at learning. And social learning is more successful than individual learning. So it really depends on the political responses. So here we do see a lot of worry because everybody is stuck home. And then some representative actors speak for the economy or the industry or the workers. And a lot of people feel like the possibility to be part of that conversation of investment decisions that will really surely not influence only the next few years, but longer periods of time, they're excluded from. And this is why there has to be, I think, or should be, something like a promise from the governments to say this is not set in stone. The emergency responses are not going to be the distribution force or the defining force of what development we're going to have in long term. And this promise could take away a lot of stress right now because everybody's concerned about who's going to take advantage. We have a lot of debate about, now the environmental people just want to push through what they always wanted to push through. And then they're just saying, now the old industries are waking up again and see their advantage of playing out climate against Corona. So how can we make or take a little bit of that anxiety out to abuse a shock moment so that we have the possibility to remain with the trust in government and remain with the trust of close cooperation between science, government and entrepreneurs and society, being the citizens, to find a joint way forward.
Let me just pin you down here, Maja, or at least attempt to pin you down. In terms of creating a different society after this, if it were down to the concept of who gets money, who gets bailed out, which industries should not get bailed out?
Well, I think we have to stick very clearly and very strongly with the message that fossil fuels have to go. And we very clearly have to stick with the message that we have to change the way that we're using our land in order to be able to protect biodiversity and food security in the future. So regenerative agriculture and a totally fossil-free energy system in the future, to me, are two basics. And to be very clear that we give money to those that are committing to go that way.
And just a reminder, you're listening to DW's Environment Podcast, On the Green Fence, with me, Neil King.
And me, Gabe Borrett, and we are talking to Maja Göpel, a transformation researcher. We're going to get personal with Maja in a bit here and ask her, what is it like for a transformation researcher, somebody who studies this stuff, to live through a period where transformation happened almost overnight?
I felt that a lot of the things that were in my head have come to my tummy. Just because you notice how ridiculous it is, the way that we've been running development and called it successful development. When we're talking now about an economy being totally on the floor, at least here in Germany, we still have food, we still can move around, we still have energy provision, we still have our houses, and the economy is called as something in lockdown. So what it is that we really need in order to cater for people's material need satisfaction is so much lower than what we always claim. And obviously you have all these explanations of why that is, and investment patterns and needs to grow, and et cetera, et cetera. And then obviously there is this idea that having more is great, and there has been lifestyles that we've come accustomed to. But when it comes down to really think about what we need in order to feel like we can lead a safe life, I think it's become so obvious to a lot of people how much we've built on top of that, and then declare that that is something that we can't fall behind anymore.
Is that what drives your idea of transformation? That your transformed world would be a world in which we kind of just have what we need, and all those sort of excess desires on top, they just vanish?
I think it should be a priority when we think about what we agreed on a global level already in 1987 in the Sustainable Development Agreements. It is looking at need satisfaction. So what are the needs that we really have, and what are the wants that are being artificially created constantly by our surroundings? Because we create a culture once we are survival proof. And then there is a very clear other notion in that, and that says the needs of the poor should be prioritized. And if we were to make sure that nobody has to worry to survive, then we would have to reallocate a lot of the resources that we do now source from all over the place in the world in order to feed our high consumerist lifestyles. We would have to leave them to others. We'd have to make space. So we'd have to be super creative, and it'd be a fantastic innovation agenda to say, what is high well-being at lowest ecological footprint? If we make that the formula of innovation, of progress, of maybe even measuring it as growth, but I think we should just get out of this idea of growth, because underneath what we measure as GDP growth, there's a lot of things that stop growing and a lot of things that start growing. So there's always change in the structure of the economy, but we end up measuring at growth in total, and we have changed the metrics so many times and the statistics so many times so that growth comes out, even if there's a lot of destruction hiding underneath it. So I think this new formula makes us so much more innovative. And when you think about Keynes and Mill and other big economists, they never, ever perceived us to be working like crazy horses when all the material needs are satisfied reliably. So for them, it was always that we would go into spending more time with family, looking after health, getting educated, engaging culture. And all of those things are areas where we can grow and we can have fun and experience fantastic things without ruining the planet.
Your ideas sound great. I wish that we lived in a world like that too.
Yeah, I want to go home to my kids. I want to go home to my kids right now.
If anything that my 36 years of experience on this earth have taught me, it's that the world is not that way. So how are we going to make the changes that will make that world possible?
Well, they're in all of us, right? I can't just wave a magic wand, but we are in this collectively. So the more and more people are starting to question what it is that we're doing and find that absurd, the more there are these incipient cracks, basically, coming towards us, the more that we experience cognitive dissonance, where we understand that what we're doing, we feel like we're forced to be doing, but it is not an expression of what we'd like to be doing anymore. And those are the moments where we start emancipating ourselves and we start questioning ourselves. And this is how evolution's happened. And there's never been a moment in history, I don't think, where we've had the chances, also through new technologies now and through digitalization on top of it, through a lot of possibilities of harvesting energy that is renewable, where this could be possible. So just saying we haven't done it so far, so we could never reach it now, is defeating ourselves already. And for me, the notion of systems change. So what is the next possible step? What's the adjacent possible from here, from now, that keeps us with this radically different vision of the good life that I think a lot of people share, interestingly, and then what keeps us going in the other directions? and to just keep on going at it. And we never know when there might be social tipping points. We never know when there might be additional crises where we might be very happy that we've learned to share much more now under Corona. And we can share. I mean, that's the brilliant thing that we start learning now. We can shape a totally different world. It's just going to be a highly political struggle. And so we're all in it, not as consumers only, but as citizens and as educators and as future foreseers that can formulate what is possible if we wanted to.
We're all in it together. There's no doubt about that. Thank you very much, Maja Göpel.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've had some time to collect our thoughts here after that interview with Maja Göpel. I'm going to set a timer here for 3 minutes. Let's do a bit of a debrief.
Yeah, we're supposed to keep
We've
it
got
short.
3 minutes and then a horrific alarm is going to go off. So we've been told to keep it short. Let's go. What did you think of her?
Well, first of all, on a very personal level, I just thought her optimism, I loved it. I thought it was really contagious. She really has faith in that we can bring about this change, that we have a unique window of opportunity here, and that we should grasp it, and then we should grasp it together. I find that quite inspiring. However, the snag is, of course, will people toe the line? Will they go along with it? What is the main priority for people now? She already said that the environmentalists and the business-minded people, they're all now already starting to position themselves and, looking to try and get government money over the crisis going in the respective channels. So the camps are already pitted against each other.
Yeah, I mean, she's saying that fossil fuels has to disappear, yet Lufthansa is going to be bailed out. Aviation is going to be bailed out. The car industry is being bailed out. People are being given money to buy cars, are probably going to be given money to buy cars. I mean, come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, those are core industries they're relevant for Germany's overall economy, right? The car industry, for instance. But I think why not bail them out? But it comes with strings attached and with pretty tough conditions.
Electric, for instance. Yeah.
We can push them now. We're in the position to say we'll help you, but why not? That should be possible. I mean, the other lever also that we could use in terms of politics would be taxation. I think that's something we could really rethink. And Maja also said that. I'm not sure whether it was included in this final cut, but she said that that's one of the levers that we could use, rethinking our whole tax system. What are we taxing? What should we be taxing more and what should we be taxing less? That's definitely something we should look at.
Where I love Maja Göpel is the idea of what we need. Or maybe that these few weeks now have given us a chance to think about whether we need the things that we have access to at all times in our world today. Yeah, the big time transformation for me that she's getting at is one in the mind of realizing that we don't need so much stuff, so many things that ruin our planet. Reduce it to the minimum, to the things that really matter, that make you happy, that will give you a sense of well-being that really is good for you and for the world around you, for society.
Yeah. That's the other thing, the well-being factor, right? She was saying we're putting well-being on the back burner and always looking at GDP.
That is huge.
Let's forget about GDP and value things more in terms of well-being.
I swear to God, if that change could be made, if that switch could be flipped, it would solve all of the world's problems.
Yeah, but how do we do that?
Can we talk to Maja again?
Do we need a constant state of corona?
No, we tried to ask her, and she says it's happening. We are in a state of evolution. She thinks it's happening. I'm not so sure.
But the question is also, when we go back to normal again.
No, we're done. We're done with this debrief. We're moving on from Maja Göpel.
God, you're
her ideas on how human beings have to change, how to put us on track for a better world. What if the world could put itself back on track? The next episode of On the Green Fence is going to be devoted to the idea of the Holocene striking back. The coronavirus being a kind of instinctual reaction on the part of the Earth, on the part of the Earth's equilibrium to set things on track. And those are the ideas of Pavan Sukhdev, who we'll be talking to.
Yeah, a renowned Indian environmental economist and former banker, very big name. We're looking
If you like what we're doing here, tune into that one too. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud,
Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Basically,
we
should
wherever
be there.
You get your podcast.
And if we're not there, let us know, because then we have to get on there. All right.
And if you have anything to say to us, just real quick, on thegreenfence@dw.com. Get in touch. We'd love to hear anything you have to say. And many thanks to Jürgen Kuhn, our sound engineer, for pressing the buttons.
Good that you got that in good.